Aloha everybody, and welcome to the finale of Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 2, and oh my god, it's the Death Egg! Dr. Eggman's greatest space station, the thing he used to cause havoc in Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Knuckles, is back, and he has encased it over Little Planet, so we gotta go up there and stop him once and for all. It's called the Death Egg Mark II, but it really should be the Death Egg Mark III. There was a Death Egg 2. It was in Sonic the Fighters. You had to go inside to face off with Metal Sonic in a fist fight, and then after you beat up Metal Sonic, the whole Death Egg 2 just blew up for no reason. Well, maybe one of Sonic's friends was sabotaging it behind the scenes. Actually, no, they couldn't have been, because the entire point of Sonic the Fighters was that they held a fighting tournament to see who would take the lone rocket that they had, the one-seat rocket that they had, to go fly off to the Death Egg 2. So, why did it blow up? Are you gonna tell me Sonic the Fighters isn't canon? Are you telling me that doesn't actually exist in the Sonic lore? Just because it has 8 Chaos Emeralds? Bah! This should be the Mark III. I'm a nerd, I know. I am such a nerd. Why are you watching me? Don't you feel embarrassed watching me? Either way. Why bring back the Death Egg for Sonic 4? Because it's an iconic part of the 90s Sonic games, an iconic part of the numbered games. At the end of Sonic 2, the end of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you always went to the Death Egg to face off with the bad doctor himself. And we're going to be doing that once again, because here's Eggman, and here's Metal Sonic. We are really fighting Metal Sonic, and Eggman's just sort of a nuisance in this fight. He has this impervious Eggmobile, which I don't know why he's never used this before. It has an invincibility shield that is protecting the Eggmobile at all times, and he also has these orange spinny blades on the bottom that will damage you if you touch them, so don't touch the spinny blades. But, yeah, Metal Sonic has the ability to summon this big blue energy ball, the Spirit Bomb, if you will, and he tries to chuck it at you while you're doing this auto-runner kind of set piece. Like, you're always running in this thing. It's like Sonic Advance 2, so it's a little hard to dodge the energy ball because of that. But, whenever he's holding the ball up, he will be encased with this purple energy, the same evil energy he picked up in Lost Labyrinth, and you can't damage him while that thing is there. But as soon as it goes away, it's easy to homing attack him or jump into him and deal out some damage that way. That was one trick I like to use, is I actually jump ahead of him, because he doesn't usually throw the Spirit Ball behind him. Sometimes he does, sometimes he throws the Spirit Ball, like, where you are, but other times he'll just throw it, like, right across, and, you know, it'll just completely miss you entirely. But yeah, the Death Egg stage itself is a big vertigo lover. It's constantly flipping the camera angles and twisting and turning, and there's lots of anti-gravity, so when you reach a certain spot, you'll be going upside down all of a sudden. And, there's our final red ring! Booyah! I got all the red rings in the game, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't get my reward until I beat the final boss of the game, so you'll see what the reward is for getting all of those red rings in this part. Don't worry, it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna be awesome. Best reward of the series yet. I'm not sarcastic. Oh, that was a dick move. As soon as the gravity switches, Sonic immediately falls into a bed of spikes. Asshole! God damn, Dr. Eggman, you're an asshole. Eggman's encased Little Planet. You'd think he'd be using the Time Stones. You'd think he'd be using those to manipulate time and screw with my warped reality and make everything all topsy-turvy and, you know. But no, the Time Stones aren't in this game. We don't really step on to Little Planet itself. We're just on the Death Egg, and then the game ends, so... You know, anything to have a Sonic CD connection, anything to draw in Sonic fans who are like, ooh, this has a connection to Sonic CD? Gotta check it out. And speaking of... We're racing Metal Sonic to the end, and a Stardust Speedway remix is playing, and if we don't make it to the end before he does, this wall will close in on us, and it will kill us, and then we'll have to redo this all over again, just like Sonic CD. There are 2 win buttons with this particular race. You can use the rolling combo, and it just plows through everything, and Metal Sonic never catches up to you. You could be Super Sonic, and then you don't constantly bounce into walls all the time, and you'll still plow through walls and stuff in like one move. And Supersonic or rolling combo makes this trivial. It makes it so easy, nowhere near as challenging as the Sonic CD race. And if you actually want to challenge yourself, then you'll have to be normal Sonic and Tails, but then you'll have to keep homing attacking the walls because they don't get destroyed in one homing attack, and you better outrun the walls, basically. But that's it for Metal Sonic, folks. Now we're in the final act of the game. There is a bubble right there. If you just run, run into the spring, you'll propel high, go to a point of no return. But if you jump over the spring, you'll find that shield, and it can help you with a certain Xbox Achievement Avatar reward, where you have to beat this boss without getting hit. Okay, so now we're fighting the heart of the Death Egg. Eggman is in the center of that heart, and the heart has electric spikes on the bottom of it. Like on the sides, from behind, you're completely fine to jump in it, no problem. But from the bottom, it is going to be shooting electricity from this silver pad, and you don't want to touch that. You can still use the copter combo in these sections to go way past the rings, to get past the electricity, and I would recommend using the Tails copter combo as often as you can, because, going along the rings and just trying to get to where the rings are closest can be a lot more treacherous than it looks. The electricity can always block your path easily when you're trying to get to the center rings, and there is actually a time limit with this particular boss fight. They don't have a timer on screen or anything, but if you take too long to attack Dr. Eggman in this boss fight, he actually uses these rings to summon a black hole, and he sucks Sonic and Tails into it to damage you and spit you back out. So, you do have to be quick, and you have to defeat Eggman. Like, you have to hit him real quick, otherwise you'll be sucked into that black hole. So, keep that in mind while you're dodging all the electricity that is constantly turning on and turning off again, and switching sides, and you gotta pay attention. I like the fact that at least the electricity gives a sign that it's going to be somewhere before it activates, so you know where it's going to turn on before it actually turns on, and that's your big warning, like, oh, I gotta get out of here, Jesus Christ. Every now and then when you hit Eggman, Sonic and Tails are just floating in the sky, and he spins you around a whole bunch before he kicks you to the outer ring. I think the reason he does that is because you can get to this boss fight with 50 rings, and you can turn into Super Sonic. The problem is, you will be draining rings every second that you're Super Sonic. So I think this is one of his dastardly traps for Super Sonic, is that he wants to make you drain rings and lose your Super Sonic ability, so he keeps you in the air a lot of the time so that your ring count will go down. Like, while Eggman's shaking and these rings are doing their thing, your ring count's going down just a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Eventually the ring pieces start breaking off, and Eggman actually gets a force field that can only be damaged by the rolling combo. And keep in mind, if you were Super Sonic, you'll turn out of Super Sonic going into your rolling combo, and then whatever ring count you had when you go into that combo will be what you have when you get out of it, so you won't be able to turn back into Super Sonic. This can also take away your invincibility during this boss fight, but it's not too bad. I always just find I go in the opposite direction, so I go like the whole loop, like whoop, I get out like that. But usually I go the whole outer ring so that I don't run into this spiky electricity thing on the bottom. And then I just go around and damage the heart that way. This is a very interesting boss. I kind of like it. At least it's not just the Death Egg robot from Sonic 2 again. At least it's not just a throwback from the older games again. It is something unique and different, and I think it's pretty fun when you don't have Super Sonic. It's a nice challenge, It's easy to scatter your rings, and it's easy to take a lot of damage when you're getting up to Eggman, but boom! Enjoy the heart attack, Eggman. All red rings collected! Achievement points! Yeah! That's the bonus you get for collecting all those red rings. And I got an Avatar award. I'll talk about that later. And that's the ending to Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 2. Specifically, this is the ending to Sonic the Hedgehog 4 in its entirety, because this would not get an Episode 3. This is the conclusion to this particular series. And, the ending kinda sucks. So, like, you gave Dr. Eggman the heart attack. The Death Egg was starting to blow apart. There was explosions everywhere. Sonic and Tails, they head to the escape pods and they blast off and go right back down to Earth. Everything's a-okay, hunky-dory. Except for the fact that the little planet is surrounded with a giant Death Egg casing and is not going away. Like, the Death Egg isn't on fire, it's not blowing apart, it's not bursting at the seams. It's still covering Little Planet. Did I get the bad ending? Is it like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where, like, Angel Island is still in the ocean and it doesn't levitate into the sky because you didn't collect all the Chaos Emeralds and you feel like you did it wrong, you know? No, I got the red rings, I got all the Chaos Emeralds, and this is like the only ending Sonic 4 Episode 2 has. I don't know if they were banking on there being an Episode 3, and that's when the Death Egg pieces were going to come off. But they don't come off here, and then we never got an Episode 3, so, awkward. The poor inhabitants of Little Planet, they'll never see the sun again, unless they're on one particular part of the planet, but, that's a lame ending. Either way, folks, that is Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Like I said, it's a throwback to all of the 90s Genesis Sonic games. If you give this to your nephews, your children, I think they'll have a lot of fun collecting the rings, beating up the badniks, taking on the Eggmobile boss fights that show up at the end of every zone. It still reminds me of the old days, when the things we loved about Sonic the Hedgehog in general. And sure, the momentum can be off, sure, some of the boss fights can be kind of annoying in Episode 2, and I don't love every particular gameplay segment. The Sky Chase level goes on a bit long. I don't love all the underwater stuff, because, well, I'm just biased towards underwater stuff, but every now and then I pop this game on, and I do play through it in its entirety, because it's still on my Xbox Live games list, you know. I still pull it up when I'm opening my Xbox list, and I'm just looking for something to play, and then I go, I could play this, I guess, and then I go through Episode 1 and Episode 2, and I have a fun time, you know? Fun time. I don't find it boring. I find it incredibly fun. I like the soundtrack, I like the speed, and I like the platforming. It's what I want from a Sonic game, even if it isn't like one of the greatest of all time. It's not like top 10 greatest Sonic games I've ever played or anything. I'm sure it's going to be outclassed by Sonic Mania later this year, but I still enjoy it, and this is not a physical release, so if you want to get this for your PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, or your PC, then you may as well get it now before it disappears into the digital ether forever. But yeah, that's Sonic 4, ladies and gentlemen, that's Sonic 4. The red rings did nothing but give me an achievement. And by defeating the final boss without getting hit, you get an Xbox Live avatar jacket, where you get pants at first for defeating the first boss. That happened all the way back in Part 2. But if you defeat the final boss without getting hit, you get Dr. Eggman's fancy jacket from Sonic Adventure onwards, and that is actually the costume my Xbox Live avatar has been wearing ever since I got it. So I'm quite happy with the reward Sonic 4 Episode 2 gave me. Anyway, folks, I'm not going to be doing an extra video. I'm not going to be doing any co-op playthroughs of this. This is pretty much the ending. And, yeah. Next up in the Sonic retrospective, it's Sonic Jump. Oh god, we're getting into the mobile games. I'll have to figure out how to record those, and I am going to be taking a break from Sonic anyway, but it's probably going to be Sonic Jump, or maybe Sonic Racing Transformed. I'm not sure. You'll find out later. Until next time, I am the Great Clement. Toodles.